as a manager, we're really, really good at looking downward and outward. When we talk about downward, that's what our team members need. Do we have the right people in place? Have we load balanced? Do folks have the right projects to be working on? And outward, what's coming down the pipe? What are the priorities? What are the goals we have? How do we fit within the bigger picture? Hey, if we've nailed those two, we're doing pretty good as a manager. But we might be missing one more direction we've got to be looking. And this is a place we don't talk about a lot because it's something that might look different in every organization, and it actually can be overlooked because we are so focused on that looking down and out. And that is managing up. And managing up, I got to tell you, is one of those skills that when you get it right, it actually makes the managing down and managing outward so much easier. Because managing up is how do you influence people that are more senior to you. Now, if you're a manager in a big company or in the corporate world, you know what this means. This is your own managers, your VPs, your executives, the folks up the chain. And if you're a business owner, this might be influencing your investors or your board or the VC or even your clients. So we all have to be doing this, really, no matter what our situation is managing. Because this is one of those things that it's overlooking it, it's making our jobs harder. And what are we about on this podcast? How to make your job easier. I'm Leah Garvin, and this is the new Manager Playbook podcast, where truly I am on a mission to make managing your team the easiest part of your job. And again, that's why when we're missing this one, managing up, influencing people with more authority than you or who have some sort of power over you, I guess I would say, for lack of a better word, when we're missing that, well, you can imagine you're missing a huge opportunity to be able to get what you want, to be operating in a more strategic way, to get your team what you want. And I'm going to talk about two places where I see this matter the most. And that's with getting more resources for your team. So that's securing more money, again, even if it's from investors, or securing more headcount if you're needing to hire more folks. And right now we're in a moment where industries far and wide, we are all having to do more with less. So being able to get more resources from folks that are holding the resources, we really need to know how to do that. Now, the other piece is around being able to delegate. And that's where it helps you build a stronger trust with your team and give them the responsibilities that they are eager for, they want to, so that they can be leading, which is going to be taking work off your plate, which is going to make your job easier. So those two places, right, how to secure more resources and how to be delegating more effectively are two places that we really need to exercise these skills in managing up. But I'm going to first talk about where do we fall short with these. The question came up last week when I was in Sydney, Australia. I was speaking at South by Southwest there, and I did my keynote, How to Be a Manager People Want to Work For. This has been so fun to do both at South by Southwest Austin and in Sydney now, really sharing with folks what are those foundational skills that we need to deploy, no matter if we're new at managing or been doing it for decades, so that our team members want to be a part of our team. Right? Because we talk about all the time, people don't leave companies, they leave managers, how managers are what drives engagement, all the things I talk about on the show. But we don't always say like, well, when we're a kick-ass manager, what does that mean? It means people stay. It means people are more motivated. It means people do better work. All that makes your job easier. It makes HR's job easier. It makes executives' jobs easier. So we want to be a manager people want to work for because it actually creates this flywheel of engagement, of retention, of results that improves any business. I digress. So the question came up in the audience of, well, where does managing up come into play? And how does this fit within the puzzle? And so as I was answering the question, I talked a little bit about both situations. One around the delegating is actually a piece of the talk, so I'll share that example here. But around how are we influencing stakeholders? And I've seen us go wrong in presenting the wrong information to someone that actually has the decision-making power. And let me explain. So when we are looking at our team and folks are spread so thin and they're on the brink of burnout and they're so stressed and everyone is coming to you and complaining every single day and saying, oh my God, there's always so much work and there's so many priorities and I don't want to do this. And it's weighing on you because you love your team. And you want them to feel supported and you want them to be happy and you want them to have the resources that they need to make sure that, they're thriving. So you want to escalate that problem. Feels like something you need to say something about, right? So you go to your own manager, or maybe you go to the VP, or you go to someone that's controlling the budget. Maybe it's, the CFO or your head of finance or whoever it is. And you go to them and you say, gosh, my team, they're at the brink of burnout. Everyone is struggling. I'm so worried about the well-being on the team. We've got to do something about it. And they look at you and say, hey, like, it's tough economy right now. What do you want to say? And they don't give you resources. They don't give you budget, and they don't care. And maybe they care like from a humanity standpoint, but they're not able to do anything about it. And the reason they're not able to do anything about it is because people being on the brink of burnout or people's well-being being compromised is not always, not typically, to be honest, that's not a reason people make financial decisions typically. Let's just call it what it is. When we are in this race against AI and against, figuring out all this stuff in the competitive market, the economy, where jobs are going, doing more with less, all this stuff I'm talking about, like, let's just be real. Folks being spread too thin is not a concern around like the bottom line. Now, doesn't mean I agree with it. I think it should be, because when people are burned out, they quit, and then you don't have resources you need to be able to deliver on your priorities, and then you can't actually keep up on a competitive level. So I don't agree with it, but I want to be really, really clear with you. That argument is not going to get you any more resources. That argument's not going to get you more headcount. And I know this because I've seen it firsthand. When I worked in big tech, I coached a design manager who shared that exact same thing with me. And she said, we have 4 people doing the workload of what would need to be like 20 people to give people relief. People are spread so thin. They're getting sick a lot. They're missing work. They're completely feeling disillusioned. And I'm going to go to the VP of engineering and say, like, hey, my team's burning out. What can we do? And I said, hey, I get it. But that person, they're aware of the workload, and their teams are under that same stress and pressure. They're aware that we have 50 million priorities to get done because we have this competitor in the market and we're trying to, catch up to them. They're aware of all that. So they already know the situation we're in, and that's not changing anything, right? They didn't already lessen the workload. They didn't already give you more resources. They already know that. So that argument isn't going to do anything. And again, we're not in a moment where leading with employee well-being is getting us anywhere. I'm just being really honest. It doesn't mean we don't care about it. It means we speak in terms of something someone's going to understand. And this is an influencing strategy that is as old as time. Dale Carnegie talks about it in his How to Win Friends and Influence People. We have to negotiate in terms of what the other person cares about. This is managing up. We think to ourselves, well, what is important to that VP? What is important to that VC? What is important to that investor? What is important to that person that I want to get resources from? Hitting the deadline, having the project be successful, beating that competitor, whatever it is, get in their head. That's what we say. And I told this design manager, I gave her that advice, and I said, hey, listen, at the end of the day, what, from his standpoint, what does this well-being issue actually create? It means we will be slow on delivering our work. If we have 4 people in the team, each one carries 25% of the workload. So losing one person means 25% of the workload gone. This is a risk management conversation. And I suggested she frame it that way. Risk management. We have these priorities. We need to get them done. This is the risks I'm foreseeing. 2 people are starting to kind of become sick more often. And if we don't have 2 people in the wings ready to take on work, we could compromise 50% of the workload in one day. That was the framing. She got 3 more headcount. Literally, this works, my friends. I have negotiated this and coached folks on how to negotiate this in the most high stakes, under-resourced environments. And we do it by managing up. We think in terms of what that person wants. And we may not, I don't know my VC. I don't know what they want, or I don't know this executive. I don't know like what they really care about, or they say they care about well-being. That should be enough. Okay. Well, look at where the company's going. What is the broader organization prioritizing right now? If you work in a big company, everyone wants to have something to do with AI. Everyone wants every single employee to have AI on their radar, to be working on it in some capacity. Most of us, okay, maybe not everyone, but this is a theme that's becoming more and more pervasive. Maybe you frame it in terms of how you're going to upskill folks on AI. Maybe you frame it in terms of how you are going to lower turnover, if that's a piece. How you're going to do more with less, turn up the heat on deliverables. Frame it in terms of what that person cares about. And if you can't quite tell where the company and the broader sort of like where the tide is turning, frame it in terms of that, not what you care about, not what you wish people would care about. That's not an influencing strategy, right? Talking about like what would matter to us. It's just not like, no, it doesn't work. So that's the first way we manage up. Or that's the first place, I should say, that it's really important to be framing terms in terms of what folks want on their end, right? What do the influencer person wants? What's the decision maker? That's how we manage up. Now, the second place I talked about comes up with delegating. So you've mastered all your skills delegating. You have delegated work on your team. You've built a really great flywheel of trust. Your team members are taking stuff on and they're really knocking it out of the park. You're handing off more stuff and people feel really excited about it. That's going on for a while. And then you have a manager your own higher up, who, when you delegate something, they're asking you questions all the time about it. And they want all the details. And they want a daily update. And they want to know this and that and the other. And it makes all the delegating that you've been doing a lot harder. And so you start getting a little bit more involved in the projects your team members are working on that they were doing really well on, because you're getting pressure from your own manager. And your manager's breathing down your neck and they're asking you a million things. And they're like, hey, I need to know what's going on with this. Like, you got to tell me. And they're going to you instead of that team member, treating you as the middleman, and you're having to figure this out. That is the other biggest place we've got to be managing up. And I know that one too, because I've been there. And that's why it's part of my talk, because it is, and it's in the new Manager Playbook as well, because this is one of the places like all the good behaviors that we learned around delegating in practice, they go out the window. We're getting pressure from our own manager, our own executives, our own board, our VCs, whoever, and we throw all the skills away and we start micromanaging our own team members. I've been there. I had a manager that, like, sort of on paper trusted me for a lot of things, but she was extremely kind of controlling about things. And when the pressure was on her, she would grab hold so tight, and she'd need to know every single detail about a project. And it was really hard on me because I was a high performer. I was managing a team that was doing well. There was really no reason for that behavior. But like we talk about on the show, micromanaging is really not about our team. It's about us, right? It's about our own anxieties and the pressure we're under. So this manager, she was under pressure from her higher ups, and she just put it right onto me. And she would ask me questions and a million things about something. And it, of course, yeah, it made me feel like, well, what happened? Like, why don't you trust me? And it was frustrating as the employee. But as a manager, okay, I'm a manager managing folks and have my own manager. This is where I had to manage up. And in one instance in particular, when I was overseeing a team member that was planning an event on our team, where event planning was that team member's real strength, and it wasn't even my strength, that's where I had to manage up and tell my own manager, hey, here is what I've delegated and why. This person is fantastic at events. She loves doing it. We have this cadence figured out. We're going to review things on Wednesday, and I will give you an update after that meeting. We'll have kind of a status report we send out every Friday. And if you need updates between that, let me know. But, if I want to really empower her to own this. And that conversation, if I didn't have it, I would have just thrown away all my good delegating skills and been like, hey, where's the status of this? Or I just got asked about that. And I would have been breathing down her neck because it was happening to me. Now, I say this because this really can be the Achilles heel with delegating, that we're all good and well doing it. But if someone starts to kind of get in the way of that and ask us, we throw all of it away. So what we have to do in that situation is manage up. Say to our own managers, our own executives, whoever we're dealing with, saying, hey, I trust my team. I have offloaded this project to this person because they can handle it, XYZ. Share what is the plan. How are you delegating? How are you making sure that it's going to go well? What are the safeguards you put in place? Give them that sense of relief so that they aren't doing that, so that they do let up a little bit. And then if they're just not going to let up, now you manage back down and you tell your team member, hey, I trust you on this. I know that you've got this. This is one of those really high visibility projects that are getting a lot of eyes from all over the company. And so this is something that we're going to need to kind of up the level of communication. We might have more reviews on it. It's not about you and your competence. It is about this, the visibility of this, or the high stakes nature of this project. So then just give your team member that context, right? If it's something that you're not going to get a lot of relief around, okay, just like make it more transparent what's going on behind the scenes. So these two situations, when we're trying to influence someone that is the holder of the resources so we can get a little bit of those resources, and when we are delegating and we got someone that's breathing down our neck and is like getting in the way of all the good things that we're trying to do, those are where you really want to exercise these skills in managing up. And what are those skills? They are communicating in terms of what matters to that person, what matters to that stakeholder, where the company's going. And B, setting real clear context on what you've delegated, how you've done it, how you're monitoring it, when you can inform that person. Those are the ways in which we manage up. And like I said in the beginning of this conversation, when you do that, it makes your job so much easier, because you find with the first example, you are speaking in the same language as that executive that's controlling the resources. They feel heard. They feel like, hey, this person's strategic. They're thinking about the right things. You get more resources, which is, the whole reason you're asking is to take the load off folks, make things easier. And the second, you're able to actually hand off this thing that you believe this other person should be working on. Right? This frees you up. It frees you up from being the middleman. You're not the go-between. You're not relaying every question. And you've shown your own manager, again, I'm being strategic. I have identified the right person to work on this. This is how we've set it up for success. Both of those really show your competence as a leader. And that's why, again, on this show, it is not a show for new managers. It's tools for managers dealing with new and evolving situations, right? It's for any manager, day 1 to day 1,000. Day 10,000, because this job is hard and we are always in new situations being pushed to our edges. And so we need tools to feel like, okay, I've got this. All right. You've got this. Manage up. It will make your job easier. See you next time.